Well, my little monsters. I noticed you really liked the recent video where I discussed scammers in anime. Well, that not so long ago was actually 3 months ago, damn it. No wonder. Since this is my community, I expected you to enjoy seeing blood. And since I'm a true agent of chaos, I feel obligated to give my people what they ask for. So here is the sequel to the video about the biggest frauds in anime. If you're new and just found me through this video, don't worry. I'm going to explain what we consider a fraud in anime here. And also, you don't need to watch the first part since there we talked about 3 specific characters and today we'll talk about 3 completely different ones. I suggest pausing this video to watch that one first, but I'll still be here. In the meantime, I'll be chatting with your mom, who invited me to watch a bit of Netflix with her, you know? Alright, quick explanation. Skip ahead if you're already up to speed. I consider that a person is selling smoke when they boast about having qualities that they actually don't have. These could include evil, kindness, power, skill, or more. The character turns out to be totally different from what they originally claimed or tried to sell us. That's why they're called a fraud. They're not actually selling anything. Was it all just a facade or a lie? This is one of my favorite ways to do involuntary comedy. The character often ends up looking bad to both fans and the rest of the cast in their story. I already shared my favorite example earlier. The Supreme Kaio-sama, who was introduced as the best thing since sliced bread. A super powerful man who defeated Freezer with one finger and was a true god everyone feared. But, well, no. He was horribly beaten along with his boyfriend, Kibito, in a pathetic way, showing that all that previous show about being all-powerful and such was out of place. Well, I think that's clear, so let's move on to 3 more frauds in the anime world, because today we've got a lot to cover. And now, let's get to video number 1, Bellamy. This guy is a complete walking meme. And that's exactly why this isn't the first time Bellamy has appeared in one of my themed videos. Let's call him not very honorable. He had his appearance in the video about the most terrifying beatdowns in anime, where he showed up, well, for being horribly beaten by Luffy shortly before the Skypiea arc. Sorry, I didn't sleep much last night, that's why. I wouldn't call Skypiea boring. It's tolerable at 3x speed and even better at 4x. The thing is, Baram, surprisingly, is even more of a fraud than a punching bag. The first time this character sold smoke was in his mini-arc. We all knew Baram was likely too much of a braggart. My theory, while all these events were happening, was that even though Luffy and presumably Zoro were stronger than Baram, I assumed that Baram wasn't too far off on the power scale. I figured if Luffy and Baram fought, the Condom Man would have a tough time, similar to their fight with Decamoria. Or, what do I know, maybe a supernova or something. But I was really surprised when, after lines and lines, and more lines of dialogue and tons of text from Baram, bragging about how powerful, dangerous, and crazy he was both in the bar scene and when Luffy came to punch him. Seriously, this guy wouldn't stop talking, even underwater. Doflamingo had to step in just to make him quiet for 5 minutes. Everything will end with a simple punch. Let's see, I assume that Luffy was extremely pissed off, while Bellamy wasn't taking all the precautions against Luffy, trying to show off in front of his crew. And that's why he took a direct hit that knocked him out. I'm not saying Bellamy was stronger than Luffy. I just mean that in different circumstances, Bellamy might have taken 2 or 3 hits instead of only 1. On second thought, Bellamy's bounty was probably for committing crimes against defenseless people. Don't hurt me too much, see? Even with his bounty, he's just bluffing. A high bounty means someone dangerous to the people or to the world government. But since it has nothing to do with power, you can never really know if a bounty is because of feats of strength or just simple misdeeds. In Dressrosa, I don't think Bellamy was just talk, though it seemed he would be more important or do something notable. Aside from being used by Doflamingo as a simple puppet while Bellamy cries like a baby, I don't actually dislike the Dressrosa version of Bellamy. But all that about him going to Skypiea and now being stronger, he regained hope only to be treated badly again, which I find a bit funny. What do you want me to say? Honestly, yeah, if we stop to think about it, after Luffy punched him, Bellamy's whole life went straight to hell. His crew died, but at least he regained hope and could dream again. I guess it was worth it, right? Number 2, Gohan. Just like I promised in the previous video for this second edition of the biggest scammers in anime, we have number 2, Gohan, you know? Lately, fans of this character have been getting offended a lot. If you call him a scammer, since according to them, Gohan has never scammed anyone. That he has sometimes been very powerful, that he has had a difficult life, that we're just haters, and I don't know what else. The thing is that the fact they think we call Gohan a scammer because of the power thing, it shows that literally they haven't stopped to listen to the arguments of anyone who supports the idea that Gohan is a bit of a loudmouth, at least in my case. I believe Gohan is a professional scammer because he seems so suspicious. He adapts his attitude and personality to different situations. Let me explain. In every case, when Gohan feels he's way superior to his opponent, and I want to emphasize he has to be way superior. If he's only slightly superior, like during the Cell tournament before Phase 2, he acts differently. An attitude that even the most orthodox Saiyan would be proud of. The two most famous moments are in his fight against Perfect Cell, once he reached Phase Y, and against Super Buu, when Gohan reached the Mystic State. In both cases, Gohan took on an egocentric, cocky, foolish, and potentially dangerous attitude, both for himself and for everyone else. Against Cell, Gohan refused to finish him off and ignored his father's pleas. No, not that father, no, from the other one. The one with the spiky hair. Yes, yeah. That Goku may be many things. But if there's one thing he has, it's experience on the battlefield. This was in Z before his mental decline in Super. So Goku knew it was very dangerous to let such an abominable and unpredictable enemy like Cell have so much time to think of a strategy. Gohan ignored him and told his father he wanted to have more fun with Cell. Just 10 minutes ago, you were whining, "I'm not like my father, I don't like to fight. I'm not a Saiyan like my dad or Vegeta." And of course, because you were cocky, your father died and you were about to be brutally analyzed by Cell. Super perfect, but without a doubt against Super Buu, it was a much worse case. When Gohan gained the Mystic State as usual, he let the power go to his head. What a surprise. So when he arrived on the battlefield and faced Buu the monster, he asked him, "I think you want to fight Majin Buu?" Remember, Buu spoke in third person. Gohan replies, "Fight you." "No, I'm gonna kill you." So Hotshot, wanna fight Majin Buu? Fight? I don't want to kill you? For God's sake, Gohan, weren't you supposed to be peaceful and just wanted to study or something like that? You might say it's not that Super Buu killed his mother, etc. Okay, would I buy it then if Gohan was pissed off? But no, Gohan didn't look angry, or at least not that angry. He was super cocky, like a high school bully. And once again, as always, he gave his rival space to think of a strategy and beat him horribly. And again, Gohan's attitude changed. Once he was overpowered, even his damn look changed once Super Buu with Gotenks absorbed landed a couple of punches on him. It's impressive. At least Vegeta or Goku keep their pride, even when they're being horribly beaten. Like when Super Vegeta faced Cell and stayed calm the whole time. Just like Gohan did, who even tried to hide behind a rock so that Majin Buu wouldn't beat him. Come on, please. And I know now you'll come at me with, "But he's half human, half Saiyan." The cells activate and deactivate. That's why the personality changes. Okay, I understand. I have a question. Trunks, that guy never made a fool of himself like that, and he faced whoever he had to, whether they were stronger or weaker than him. And he never acted cocky. But well, that's because Mirai Trunks is the best character in the franchise. What can we do? I also want to make a small note. People tend to overcomplicate things and attribute words to others that were never said. I'll say it loud and clear. Future Gohan doesn't count here. Future Gohan is not a fraud, and I don't consider him the same character as present Gohan. I'm sorry, I know they're technically the same character, but it's like asking me to treat Mirai Trunks and Trunks as one person. Kid from Zeta and Super. I just can't. Even if you tell me the only difference between them is the life they've had, I can't compare them at all. If you want to, fine. In that alternate universe, Gohan changed his attitude and stopped messing around, that's all. The conclusion is Gohan isn't a fraud just because he's not strong. In fact, he's very talented when he wants to be and has had a lot of power-ups handed to him. He's a fraud because of his attitude, for acting like the toughest and the best when he can, but making excuses when he's outmatched? Gohan, make up your mind. Be either a show-off or a peaceful nerd, but not both. Dude, make up your mind. Number 3, Sikorsky. Oh. Good old Sikorsky. God, the biggest cringe lord around here. Closely followed by Ali Jr. Yanagi could also fit in this spot since both he and Sikorsky were the biggest frauds in the entire saga of the convicts. They might not have been the weakest, since I guess the weakest one was Doyle. Although I'm not too sure about that, we'd have to sit down and analyze it carefully. The point is that these two, but especially Sikorsky, and he's the one I want to focus on today, were extremely embarrassing. But at least Yanagi poisoned Baki and almost took him out. Sikorsky, on the other hand, has no excuse at all. The first problem already comes with his introduction. It's the typical over-the-top introduction to hype up a character. And why do I say it's over the top? It's very simple because it turns out it was a blatant lie. You could almost say it was staged. Let's see. The guy was in some kind of prison or pit or weird hole, and he had to train his finger strength like crazy to be able to escape. I don't have a problem with that since considering the feats in the same series, like the freaking Dorian swimming across the sea. Like he was just swimming laps at his local pool or Doyle surviving the electric chair. It's really just like a laser hair removal session. Not that impressive, but they act like it is. Oh, he's crazy. God, that's insane. Sikorsky, right? Up to this point, well, whatever. Nobody was going to be surprised. But then came the moment when it was mentioned that Sikorsky went straight to attack Andrianov Zargon once he escaped from that pit. Andrianov is that Russian who was quite important during the Underground Arena arc and who fought against Jack in the quarterfinals. This Zargon guy was known all over Mother Russia as a real beast. So Sikorsky, trying to act cool because he's always up to the same crap, he attacks Zargon and quote-unquote defeats him. Why quote-unquote? Because it's explained later that Zargon was still hurt from his fight with Jack. That fight was so brutal and fierce that this man still hadn't fully recovered. Not even close. So yes, Sikorsky beat a wounded man who couldn't defend himself almost to death. This wasn't properly explained, which is why it angers me that Sikorsky takes credit, beating Zargon O or Alexander Galen in the dub. I know some of you use that name. After this, it was obvious that everything would get worse. Sikorsky spends the whole saga wandering around Tokyo like a complete idiot, getting beaten up by several characters, including Little Gaia. His lowest point was when he tried to attack Yujiro Hanma himself. That guy should literally kiss the huge dick of the big black guy Biscuit Oliva because he basically saved his skin. Needless to say, Oliva could have crushed him so badly. Easily, right now, Sikorsky would be a welcome mat. We already know this character's poetic low point. Jack Hanma, who previously fought Andrianov Sargon in the Underground Arena, is now responsible for finally putting Sikorsky in his place. Jack brings him to where he once fought Zargon and pulverizes him. No, that wasn't a fight. It was a total massacre, like an adult fighting a child. But the humiliation continues. Jack hands the baton to Gaia, a super soldier who, come to think of it, also made empty promises back then. That's beside the point. At least I like Gaia. This soldier gives Sikorsky a brutal beating using dirty combat tricks, giving Sikorsky a taste of his own medicine. So this baby-faced man was the one who defeated Sikorsky? After this, instead of retiring or baking cakes, Sikorsky snaps and pursues Baki, later joining Yanagi. Looking worn out, both were ultimately crushed by Baki. Power. Sex is a power-up, best in anime history? I can't prove it, but I believe it. In conclusion, Sikorsky was not only a fraud, but also an opportunistic, egocentric, unbearable character with no awareness of his own limitations, and ultimately a guy who is disliked and who I highly doubt has any fans or defenders. Screw you, Sikorsky. You don't even seem Russian. Jack, being Canadian, seems more Russian than you. You can't even do that right, piece of crap. I'm going to YouTube to watch Jack beat you up for the 25th time. Bye-bye. If you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitter and Twitch, where I stream nearly every day. Don't forget to follow me on my secondary channel, Belfatilter, where I upload videos reacting to anime or reading manga that I've watched or read live. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.